Alright, so today we have a Bant churns deck that for historic that I want. I call it Bant Fog, but it's the same thing. Bant churns, Bant Fog. Actually, let's go ahead and just change it. Call it Bant churns, but it's Fog pretty much. But Bant churns, Bant Fog, same difference. But the reason why I called it originally Bant Fog is because we're running 4 Hazel Pollens in the main deck and 2 Root Snares in the sideboard. So it's a Fog deck. But it's Bant Churns because we're running 4 Alrund's Epiphany and 2 Teferi Time Masters to take churns. And then we have Tamios to start returning, cards like Teferi if it dies or something like that. But so this is the deck I'm trying out in Historic. Bant Teferi is obviously a strong card, but let's get into the quantities, the makeup, and stuff like that. So right off the bat, we're playing 2 Search for Escantas because it's a spell deck. You're going to want Search for Escanta in your deck, and the reason why also is because you're obviously casting a lot of cards like Hazel Pollen, Growth Spirals, Explorers, but also because Tamio feeds the graveyard and mills 4 cards, so this should get milled, or this should flip faster. 4 Explorers, you want to ramp in because you're running Outrun's Epiphanies, you're running Teferis, so you want to ramp as fast as you can so you can cast these cards sooner. 4 Hazel Pollens, you don't want to die by damage, you want to get to late game. You also, Hazel Pollen is good because Teferi's plus effect untaps 2 lands, and then Hazel Pollen protects Teferi. I added 1 Growth Spiral in too, just to add an additional mana ramp, but that may not be necessary, so we'll see as we play the game. We'll see if it's needed or not. 2 Narsets to help us draw spells out. It's just a good planeswalker. So if you do end up taking this, like if I take out Growth Spiral, I'll probably add another Narset into the deck. So 3 Narsets. But I want to try out Growth Spiral first before I do that. So at the moment, we're keeping at 2 Narsets. 2 Solid Cummins to add some counter spells in the deck just in case. 1 Balo Recovery. This is so that it can return any card from the graveyard. It's a land at the worst case scenario. It's a very strong card, so I like that card. And then we have 4 Wrath of Gods and 1 Doomscar. So the reason why I did it 4-1 instead of say like 3 Wraths and 2 Doomscars, obviously this is nice to play on turn 3, or as a 3 mana board wipe, but I'm often probably not going to be able to do that with 3 mana. So that's why I do 4 here, because I'd rather have a guaranteed 4 mana removal than a possible 3 mana removal board wipe. So, but if you want, you can easily do this as 3 and do Doomscar as 2. Play around with the numbers and see which one works better, but I'm doing 4 here and 1 here. We got 2 Teferi Time Masters because, like I said, it's a churns deck, and then if you get to the -10, you get 2 extra churns. Worst case scenario, it can loot you through cards. It could phase out creatures. We got 2 Tamios here. It helps Search for Escanta, helps us grab, Outrun's Epiphanies, Teferis. It grabs us cards out of the graveyard. Tamio is a strong card. I would recommend if you have some kind of deck around, in her colors, and you're playing like a control deck, I would recommend playing her. 1 Commit, because it's just a great counter spell. It could reset the game, so that way we don't deck out. Like I said, the Doomscar. 4 Teferis. You got to be running 4 Teferis in this deck because this is your primary win condition. So obviously when you emblem, you get to exile all their cards, and then you can't deck out because of its minus effect. You can keep targeting itself. So this is your primary win condition. 4 Outrun's Epiphanies. We're taking churns. That's what we do. The lands are just, the lands. There's nothing, special about the lands. Sideboard, 2 Authorities of the Console against aggro decks, against goblins, so they can't like OTK you with Muxus, but it's mainly there for aggro and goblins. It's also good against, like Gruul aggro, stuff like that. 2 Grafdigger's Cages against all the Rakdos, Arcanist decks, or Cruxas, and all the, the Cat Oven stuff. 2 Baffling Ends against aggro. We want to just be able to remove some of their cards, like against Gruul aggro, get rid of like Spellbreakers and stuff like that. 1 Rest in Peace. So the reason why I did 1 Rest in Peace is because it runs Search for Escanta, but I think let's see how it works, but I think I want more copies of this because in the matches where I want this in, I probably don't care for search first content anyways. So I'm highly debating on moving this up. So we'll see how it works, but I think I want more copies of this. And then our counter spells are one stroke, one negate, two vetoes. Those are against like control decks, you know, blue white control and whatnot. So we bring those in. I have two more fogs in the sideboard. This is mainly against like goblins or something, you know, because goblins can't stop you from fogging, whereas Gruul can sort of stop you from fogging because they play, I think, two questing beasts, and questing beast says, you know, damage can't be prevented. But I think you still bring it in against the Gruul decks because if they don't have questing beasts, you still get to fog them. Like it still fogs them. So that's why I have two in the sideboard. But it's, I mean, obviously it's mainly against goblins because goblins can't interact against fogs. But I would also bring this in against Gruul aggro. One Yasharn against the sack decks, you know, the cat crap, and then one Coma against control. So this is the deck, Bant churns. Let's go ahead and give it a try on the ladder and see how it works. Alright, let's see. Bant. We're playing Bant in Historic. Seb. I guess. I mean, I have lands. I mean, I'm obviously missing blue mana, but most of my lands are blue anyways, so that's the reason why I'm keeping here. Oh, it looks like we're playing against the life gain deck, I'm assuming. Speak of the devil. We drew the blue mana. Speak of the devil. Yep. We're playing against like the life gain deck here. Well, they're gaining a lot of life. They're close. They are close. Let's see, I can cycle this or I can play it. I think I want to use it as a cycle worst case scenario. In case they don't play a card, we can hold up the mana so we can cycle. Otherwise, we're just going to counter something, I guess. I mean, I run a lot of board wipes, so if I could draw one of my... Alright, well, they're going to gain 2 life here. So, they're going to go 25, go to 26, not 27. Never run their angel into the battlefield. Maybe I was supposed to counter the speaker. But, I mean, I'm looking for the board wipe, so that's... So I'm just going to cycle here, I guess. Yikes. Whenever another angel enters the battlefield, gets a +1 counter, sure. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, he has 10 on power on board. That's not what I'm looking for. Not what I'm looking for. This I have Teferi to loot. Let's draw. Commit. Yeah, that's not gonna do anything. I think this game might be lost. I mean, I get to loot, and then hopefully... Oh, wow. As long as your life soul is 7 life, creatures you control get +2/+2. Yikesers! Wow, that's a lot of damage. 6, 10, oh, whoa. 11, 3, 6, 9, 12. 23 points of damage? Okay. We're not dead then. We're taking 17. If he attacks Teferi, we're taking 17. Nope, he realizes. He realizes. Alright. So 5, 8, 11, 14. 5, 8, 11, 14, 20. So if I fizzle the angel, but then I would just lose anyways because I can't. If I draw a board wipe, I wouldn't be able to. I could fizzle this and take less damage. Fizzle the Valkyrie, so that way it's, you know. But the Valkyrie. So let's see. If I draw a board wipe, I'm fine. If I draw a board wipe, I am fine. Nope. All right. I mean, I could still draw a fog here, though. Nope. Alright, no, we're dead now. I was gonna say, use the plus effect, grab a fog, and then I could fog the damage, and then hopefully go from there. See, I run 4 Haze of Pollen, so I could have fogged the damage that he sent at me. Alright, so we bring in 2 more Root Snares, bring in 2 Baffling Ends here. I also had 4 Wrath the Gods in my deck, and a Doomscar against him, but we didn't draw that, so it's fine. Alright, let's see what I'm cutting here. I think Teferi seems slow because it's a 4 mana effect. I'm not sure. I'm definitely cutting 1 Alrund's Epiphany. I know it's a churn stack, but like if we don't even get to 6 mana, it's not going to even matter here. Cut a Growth Spiral, and yeah, let's go ahead and cut some counter spells because he's all low to the curve. As you saw, we lost to 1-drops pretty much, so playing a 3 mana counter spell against a 1-drop is not what we're looking for. I'll keep, I think, right? Because I have 2 lands and explore. It's not bad. It's not the greatest hand, but it's not bad. I mean, obviously, if we have like 3, if we didn't have this, say, Epiphany and had another, like maybe Hollow Fountain or Scatter Groves or something like that, it would be a lot better. But hey, I can't have the perfect hand. That's a good draw. Gives me my 2nd White Swords for Wrath the God. Ooh, okay. That works too. See? There we go. There we go. We drew our 4th land. So now next turn we can play Wrath, Commit, Tameo. Oh no, now we can't play anything. I guess we get to yeah, do this, I guess, right? Foretell this. Well, I guess the following turn we get to play Wrath the God then. Our 3 turn 4 mana effects got turned off by Thalia. That's not cool. Seb, that's not cool. But we're fine. We're still at 20 life, or 18 I should say now. We have a Wrath the God, we have a Commit, we have a Tameo. Let's see. Whenever an angel you control dies, alright, let's Wrath the God. It's because it's not an angel, let's Wrath the God. And then we have I have Tameo to use it to get back Wrath the God, so that's why. On top of that, I'm at 6 mana. I can use Alrund's Epiphany to take an extra turn. So I have a few different lines of play here I could do. Soul Warden, sure. Soul Warden, sure. So the problem with this white deck, I guess these running green, but the problem with this life gain white deck is that, I mean, if it gets like late game-ish in a sense, with all my Wrath of Gods and Haze of Pollens and Root Snares and stuff like that, there won't be able to do anything. So it's like just like a, oh, I see what it does. Okay, so if he removes like an angel, it gives all angels when you put 1 counter on each creature you control. Okay, so yeah, if he removes an angel, all his angels get +1/+1. Interesting. I'm assuming it's since an angel life gain deck, and so he's cleric, so now all his clerics get +1/+1. Okay, interesting. That's a quite interesting card. Let's do some Tameo, and I'm just gonna return Wrath the God here. Allow him, if he wants to throw more to the board, then be all my guest. So we're trading a Tameo for pretty much 3 life. Because we got Wrath the God back. So it replaces itself. And then we're taking 3 damage. And then at the same time, he's not going to be able to progress his board here because we have Wrath the God. Let's do that. I'm debating on if I run a Wrath the God, but I don't think so. I'd rather hold up Commit. So if he doesn't throw anything else out to the board, I just play Commit. If he throws more things out to the board, I'll take the damage and Wrath the God. Like, he's not going to throw anything out because he knows I have Wrath the God in my hand. So, like, having this Wrath the God is helping me out a lot. See? He doesn't want to do anything because of Wrath the God. So, which helps me out because now it's buying me time. Ooh, Narset. Untap 2, doesn't really matter. Can't play anything, so it doesn't really matter what I untap. I could have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, it wouldn't have mattered. Honestly, I could have shocked the breeding pool, but then that would only put me at 4 mana, and I can't even activate Castle because Castle costs 5 mana. Man, I love this card back when it was legal in Standard to Fairy. Such a strong card. Strong damage. This creature has taken 2 damage. Wow. But I have 2 effects to take turns here. Like, if he's not gonna put anything to this, you have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 mana. Okay, there you go. So, draw a card first. Let's see what we draw first. Okay, land, sure. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. I'm 1 shy of being able to play Narset and Alrund's Epiphany. So I'm just going to take the extra turn here. And I get to play Explorer as well, which is my main reason to doing it. Because I get to use up most of my mana. And then untap 2 lands, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now we can do Narset. We can use Memory, and then and then he draws 1 card, I draw 7. And then I get to use the effect. So my hand size is going, ooh, Roots there, perfect. Draw a card. This is ridiculous. 9 card hand, no attacks. Oh, actually, what am I saying? No attacks. I have Roots there. Why wouldn't I attack? All right, what am I discarding? So Fable Passage. I guess it's just 2 lands. No attacks. I got to bring his life total down anyways because of the speaker. So there's no point of not attacking because I have Roots there. Could have held it back, but then I'm not winning the long. It's not that I'm not winning the long run, but it's just gonna take a lot longer to win. Might as well just go ahead and do that. Plus, I have the Narset to dig for cards, and I have the other Teferi in my hand that can dig for cards. I have Alrund's Epiphany to gain another turn. That's all the reasons why I attacked. Because, like I said, Alrund's Epiphany, Roots there, the 4-drop Teferi, the Teferi in play, the Narset effect. Like, there's just so much draw right now that I have. So let's activate. See? Haze of Pollen. I could have also grabbed Wrath of God here, so I could have just board wiped him. Let's take an extra turn. Can't attack because of the 2 flyers he has in play, but this is still, look at this. Use Teferi plus. No attacks. We take an extra turn. We need to drop the other Teferi maybe soon. So let's see. So we have a fog effect. So we might, let's see, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have access to 13 mana. We have 4 blockers. He has no cards in his hand. Obviously, Teferi. This Teferi is my win con because then I start drawing cards and I start exiling all permanents. But let's play Baby Teferi since the other one's a 5-drop. Okay, well, we have 2 Search for his Contos. We have 2 Hero Dominarias. Let's take an extra turn. I should have probably discarded actually the Search. Why did I discard the Baffling End? That was a slight misplay. Go to 7. Yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to stop my Teferi from embleming. Because I don't think they... I already have one in my hand, but it doesn't hurt to have another one against a creature deck, I should say. Discard a land, play a land, use Teferi's plus. Ooh, nice. This allows me to grab another fog later into the game. So no attacks, draw a card, or not draw a card, but so now our Teferi goes off. The only way he can stop us is if he plays like Conclave Tribunal or something like that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, we have 7 blockers on top of 2 fogs. So he's attacking me. So he's just conceding to the fact that Teferi is going to emblem, I guess. So I'll take 2. And then we get to emblem, cast another Teferi, use the Teferi to draw a card for that. Like, yeah, this game is looking over. Then we, on top of that, we also have hazes that we can cycle, worst case scenario. I was gonna set an upkeep stop here, but never mind. Ooh, but I don't need that. Don't need that. I can just remove his field with Teferi. Because I have 2 Haze Pollens. I don't really need that. I can use Bala Ged Recovery to return it back from my hand anyways. So this is how I was going to win. Teferi emblems, use the baby Teferi, draw a card, then play the other Teferi, draw a card. Now I get to exile 2 of his permanents. I'll target 2 of his creatures. Then I get to cycle these Haze Pollens and draw another card, exile another creature, draw another card, exile another creature. And then on top of that, I have 6 creatures as blockers. So there's no reason to keep Wrath the God on top of the deck because I'd rather look through my deck for more cards. Obviously, I can use it to board wipe him, emblem Teferi, use the other Teferi, draw a card and start removing his lands. But it didn't matter at that point. At that point, the game was pretty much over. Alright, that hand was not good enough to keep. I have to keep this, so drop that to the bottom. Because I have a Fog and a Wrath of God. Soul Warden, sure. Baffling End is a good draw. Baffling End is a good draw. It's an early removal. Okay, so he didn't play anything, so I'm just going to explore here to mana ramp. Because he didn't play, I mean, I could Baffling End this Soul Warden, but it's not worth it. I'd rather just mana ramp and get closer to like Wrath the God and Epiphany and stuff like that. Now if he drops anything, we can Wrath the God his board. Or we can just use Baffling End and foretell the Epiphany. Like there's another lot of things we could do here. So let's play Hinterland so we don't have to pay life. I can Baffling End either the Soul Warden or the Angel. Or I could just Wrath the God and then use Baffling. I think I'd rather do Epiphany here though, honestly. And just get rid of his creature. Because the Warden's a 1-1. Who cares about a 1-1? And then I could save Wrath the God for a turn where he sets up like a bunch of creatures on board. Me taking one, it's not going to matter right now. The best word said by the guy who dies, right? It's like, oh, I could take one. Who cares? And then the next thing you know, 10 turns later, you're dead because you took one. That'd be hilarious. I'm like, no. Top decker. Bishop Wings, okay. Let's see. Is it worth Wrath the God? He has 3 cards in his hand? I don't think so. I could just use the castle to create a blocker, worst case scenario. So, like, I mean, I'm trying to save Wrath the God for as long as possible, and on taking 2 per turn, it's not going to matter. And then since he attacked with Soul Warden, now I can animate Collected Company. Even better. See, now I have a Wrath the God effect that could just wipe whatever he has with Collected Company. So that's what the green is for. So it's White Angels, whatever life gain, but then the green is for Collected Company. Okay, now we're just going to wipe his board and win the game. So block the Soul Warden, take 1, and then just Wrath the God. He has 2 cards in his hand. Oh, another. Well, since we have drew another one, it doesn't hurt to play it now for sure. Oh, he gets to create a bunch of dudes. A bunch of 1/1 dudes because we killed a bunch of his angels. Angels. Bishop of Wings, whenever an angel dies, yep. Well, we have a worst case scenario. If we didn't draw back up Wrath the God, we could use Epiphany to create 2 dudes to block. So that's the worst case scenario. Dahlia, sure. Dahlia, Tamio. Well, we get to do that next turn, I guess. So, Wrath the God. Down again. Down again. Next turn, if he doesn't have a Thalia here, we can cast Tamio and protect it with Haze of Pollen. That's why it's better to use Wrath the God there. If he didn't have Thalia, then I would have just used Tamio and used Haze of Pollen and save Wrath the God. But since he had Thalia in play, it was better to do it that way. Since our mana was being taxed, we couldn't play Haze. And also Tamio costed 5 mana versus 4 mana. So that's why. So I'm just going to plus because I have Haze of Pollen. I'm going to call out Teferi Hero Dominaria. So that way, let's say so he's going to attack, right? We fog him, and then we use Tamio's minus effect to grab Wrath the God, and then Wrath the God the board. And we're just going to, he's just throwing out more cards for us. I guess he's trying to gain life and create angels. But it doesn't matter. We have Wrath the God in the graveyard. And I guess he doesn't know about fogs. Okay. That's fair. Okay, well, now this game is over. He doesn't know about the fog, so that's fair why he's doing what he's doing. Because he's just going to try to kill Tamio and then go through. And since 2 Wrath the Gods are in the graveyard, he's like, likelihood of me having a 3rd Wrath the God is probably unlikely. So that's why he's throwing everything to the board at the moment. But we have a fog effect. We have a fog. We have a fog. Yep, see? Nope. Fog. And then guess what? We get to grab Wrath the God. This game is looking bleak, opponent. So we have to Baffling End here first. I might take an extra turn here first. Because I was going to use Wrath the God, but I'd rather take an extra turn here. Alright. So maybe, because then maybe I could have hit something. But now, I could have done it last turn too, I guess. But it doesn't matter. So now I'm going to do Baffling End, get rid of the bishop first. Because if I don't get rid of the bishop, he creates a bunch of 1/1s. Since all his creatures are angels. Then I use this to return Wrath the God. And then I Wrath the God him. Now he gets no angels. Play my land, pass turn. I could have done that the previous turn and saved Alron's Epiphany. It might have been actually better to do it that way. But, it's fine. I wanted to see what I drew first before I decided to do the play or not. So that's why. I'm pretty sure this game is over at this point now. But, obviously the opponent's going to keep playing until it's over, which is fine. Let's draw a card. Play land. Taps 2 lands. He can only hit Teferi for 1. Let's say if he keeps throwing things out, we have Tamio to minus, grab another Wrath of God. Let's see what he's going. Oh, he's going after me. I guess he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to win, so let's just attack him instead of the planeswalkers. Alright, where's my Wrath of God? I could also get a Alron's Epiphany and take an extra turn. Actually, I feel like I want to do that instead. Because my Teferi is getting closer and closer to emblem. And I could use the token to block a turn also. Okay. Draw a card. Ooh. Okay. Well. Oh, I should have castled first. Oops. That was a misplay. I should have castled first to scry and then use Tameo to call the card. But oh well. I wanted to grab commit here so I can remove the Angel of Vitality, but it's fine. And then see I would have hit. So I would have hit a card pretty much. All right, let's scry. Rat the God is fine. Rat the God. No attacks. Pass turn. Untap. Castle. Hollow Fountain. Okay, yep, that's game. There we go. Easy peasy. All right, let's get some Bant action up in here. Playing some Bant turns in Historic right now. So let's see how this works out. Come on, game. Let's go. Any day now. Any day now. Oh my gosh. I love it when the game doesn't work this way. I don't know what it is. Okay, well, I'm going to keep this hand because we have a Fog and we have lands and then we have Teferi. We don't know what our opponent is on, so we can't just assume they're on something, and they don't have a companion revealed, so that's another thing also. So like if they were revealing like a Loras, then maybe we all like, okay, well he's on Rakdos or he's on whatever Jund or something, you know what I mean? But since we don't know, we're just gonna do it this way. It was a good draw for the Explorer also, because that gave us the mana ramp, but looks like we're playing against Jeskai. But he's not playing like a Yorion, so wonder. Ooh, that was a good draw too. But it's probably gonna get counterspelled. But I'd rather have Tameo countered than to have Teferi countered. Teferi is just obviously a stronger card than Tameo, and so we're just gonna bait out the counterspell here. Thirst for Meaning. Huh. What is my opponent playing? What are you on, opponent? So what am I going to call here? I don't play counterspells, so I guess I just call like Alrund's Epiphany since there's 4 of those in the deck. Oh, got lucky. I hit. I got lucky. Okay, another Birth of Meletus. Okay. I wonder what. I'm really curious. Grafdigger's Cage. That doesn't do anything. Does not stop Tameo. See? Does not stop Tameo. It says return creatures or whatever, so it doesn't stop it. So let's play Teferi. What am I... Do I call out another Alrund's Epiphany here then? Try to hit another one? Well, that was good because those are dead cards. Wrath of God and Haze of Pollen and a land. Don't need that. We're currently looking in good position at the moment. But then again, we don't know what our opponent's playing, so... If he plays like a Teferi to tuck Teferi, it won't matter because then Tameo could grab it. If he plays Teferi to say tuck Tameo, doesn't really matter because then we have Teferi that we can use the plus effect, play the land, and then Alrund's Epiphanies and whatnot. We also have the baby Teferi. I'm gonna call him baby Teferi because the big Teferi is the Teferi, and the 4-drop Teferi is baby Teferi. Clearly, the 5-drop Teferi is better than all the Teferis here. Clearly. So that's baby Teferi. Alright, opponent. What the heck happened? What's going on? Did we just, win the game or something? Did he decide he disconnected or is not playing anymore? What's going on?
Huh. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Well, while we wait here to see what he's doing, I guess we're gonna win the match then because he. I don't know if this is like roping me or if this is like legit him disconnected. Because I know a lot of people rope apparently, and it's a big thing in the game now. So I have no idea. So I guess we're gonna foretell this because the fairy gets to untap the lands anyways. I thought I saw him highlight fairy there for a second, and if that's the case, that means he's here and he's just roping me. But could have just disconnected. I guess I'm just gonna give them the. I'm gonna give them. I always give my opponent the benefit of the doubt, so I'm just gonna assume they disconnected. Either way, our hand was good. Haze of Pollen, obviously, we can't use it to fog them because it looks like they might be a control deck here. But the reason why I'm playing Haze of Pollen over, say, Root Snare is because of the fact that it can cycle. So the fact that it has the cycle mechanic is the big aspect here. So we're just going to discard this Haze of Pollen. Call out maybe another Alrund's Epiphany. Nope. Draw a card. Alright, tap. You're up. Gain 2 life. So, yep, it looks like my opponent just DC'd, I guess. It happens. I'll take... I don't want to win this way, obviously, but, I know I've lost plenty of times this way, so... I really wanted to see this matchup. I think we're favored because of the fact that we have so many planeswalkers, and then we have counter spells since main deck and out of the sideboard. So I believe we are favored in this matchup. And obviously both players, I have less dead cards than he does, I guess, but we both have dead cards. All right, looks like we're winning this match. There it is, victory. Dun, da, da. All right, let's get some Bant churns in this mess. Hearty. Bant churns. Okay, that might be a little that. Holy moly, 7-land hand. I feel like just taking the risk here, Mulligan. I'm gonna take this risk. I think it's gonna pay off. Whatever. If I lose, who cares? We're taking a 7-land hand to the. Let's see what happens. And he's mulled again. I think the second twice. So hey, works out in my favor. Let's see if this 7-land hand wins. This is hilarious. Audience, I would not suggest this ever to keep a 7-land hand, but I hate mulling. Just like all of you guys, I hate to mull again. So I'm gonna keep the 7. Oh, Dahlia is a good card against. That sucked because then we could have played Narset, but there's Dahlia. So we have a turn 4 Narset. That's kind of lame. They have a really good hand for a mulligan to 5. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. It's pretty solid. So he has 3, 6, 9. He has 9, right? So it's not lethal. And if he, I guess if he has another Marshall, it's lethal. But there's Wrath of God. I guess Marshall wins in the game. No, because yeah, it does. So he gets to flip, and he gets to protect. so he's gonna kill my Narset here since he can't kill me. That's which is smart. Take out the Narset while you can. And you get to still hit me for 6 damage. So chosen creature. So I'm assuming he's gonna protect. He either protects Dahlia here or Marshall. I wonder what he's gonna protect. I would say Dahlia maybe might be better, but Marshall does add more power to the board. The reason why I said maybe Dahlia is because it's taxing my mana. Obviously Marshall was doing more damage, but the tax is relevant. So like right now, for example, if you would have kept Dahlia, I wouldn't have been able to play Teferi here, because then I wouldn't have been able to hold up the Haze of Pollen. So against control decks, yeah, he would have hit me, you know, for 1 less damage, I guess, or 2 less damage, but it's worth it, you know. Personally, I would have kept the Dahlia. All right, so we got Haze here. We get the Fog, so we're not dead. And then we get to use Teferi, draw a card. We just gotta hit like another Wrath of God or Haze of Pollens. I mean, we're running 5 Wrath effects, and we're running 4 Fogs. So there's Dahlia, sure. That's not really gonna help you out, but sure. All right, discard land. Oh, there's the Wrath. Yes, Wrath of God off the top, just like we drew it up. Teferi protects me from dying because I can fog the creature. If he has a creature, I'm saying. Oops, I discarded the wrong card. That was a punt. I was trying to discard this forest, but that was a misplay. By the way, this was a 7-land opening hand. I'm at 2, man. 2's not dead, though. 2 is not dead. Ugh, another land. Let's draw with Teferi first. Another land. Alright, players contemplate land and then use castle. I can keep actually the land in my hand. Never mind. Because I can use it for Teferi. It's going to flip. I was like, wait, no. Don't play the land because you have Teferi. So I'm going to activate castle, block. If he has like a combat trick, then I can use Teferi to fog the token so I don't die. That's why I didn't use Teferi here, because I want to fog in case, or blink his token in case, or phase it out of combat, I should say, just in case. Sure, Dauntless Bodyguard, that's fine. Okay, well that's a good card. That was a really good card. Bollock, Gold Grab, Haze of Pollen. I'm not going to grab Wrath of God here because Dauntless could protect one of his creatures. So I'm going to grab the Haze of Pollen here so that I can fog. And then I get to emblem the Teferi. I might win this game here. I might just end up winning. Alright. We have enough mana to play Narset and Haze. And whatever I get off of... I already discarded a card, never mind. So whatever I get off of Narset, I could just discard it. That sucks. We lose Teferi. Possibly. Yep. Whatever I draw, I'm discarding. Because I'm keep... Oh. This is hilarious. So... I'm actually gonna win because I'm going to play Teferi. I'm gonna play Teferi, emblem baby Teferi. So I'm just gonna Haze of Pollen here, and then plus Teferi, and then take 3 turns with the baby with Teferi. Oh, this is over. This is over. This is hilarious. Yeah, another Legion's in landing. Nope, not gonna take a next turn. I'm just gonna plus it, and then discard whatever I draw. This is done for. I'm sure they're gonna. they're gonna see the writing on the wall, right? Oh, another Teferi. No. Oh wow. There's Alrund's Epiphany also. Nice. Oh my gosh. Take 2 extra turns after this one. Yes. Woohoo! Woohoo! The 7-land hand won. 7-land hand won. I kept a 7-land hand, and then look at my field now. I'm going to be taking 2 extra turns after this because it's a very Master of Time. Then I have an Alrund's Epiphany here to take another turn. On top of that, I'm able to use Narset's effect and Escanta's effect. And it's all this turn. That's crazy. This is crazy. So I'm going to get this up by... It's going to go to 5 and then 6, 7. It's going to go to 8 right off the bat. That's crazy. All right, so we want 2 Baffling Ends here because he's a aggro deck. I don't want these counter spells because he's an aggro deck. I think I want to cut either a Growth Spire. I'm thinking Alrund's Epiphany because it's kind of expensive. It's a tad bit expensive for what I want it to be doing. That was crazy, man. What a win. All right, let's see if we can win the match, though. A single game win is not going to matter. As long as... All right. This is fine. I'll keep. I have a turn 2 Explore or a turn 2 Escanta. If I draw another white source, I have a turn 4 Wrath the God into a turn 5 Teferi. This seems fine. Legion's Landing. Okay. Fable Passage gives us the double white now for Wrath the God. So we have a turn 3 Wrath the God. I'm sure he gets to flip Legion's Landing before we get to Wrath the God, but I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but you know. Okay, so 4 or Island, play this, Explore. Play Fable Passage to grab white, and then it doesn't really matter. We could play both Forest or Island, it don't matter. So we have a turn 3 History of Benalia. That's a good one. That's actually a good one. So he gets to protect, I'm assuming, the 2/2 token. But it's still... I'm wondering if it might be worth Wrath the Godding here. Or is it better just to play Search for Escanta and Explore on the same turn, and then the following turn play Wrath the God? So I get to hit more cards? Because the History of Benalia is going to trigger again. I feel like... Yeah, I feel like I... 2, 4, 5. I'm only taking 5 here. The problem... So the thing I'm having here is the Legion's Landing is going to flip, but I think it's worth taking 5 and letting it flip and then playing Wrath the God so that I can clear more out of the board. I'm using my life as a resource here, and since this is a control deck, that's the big thing you need to do with control decks is use your life as a resource. Obviously, if I was like at 7 or 8, I would Wrath the God, but I'm at 16, so that's fine. That's gonna get killed. I have 6 mana, so it's gonna get killed. Ooh, he just threw everything out. So he gets to keep 1 creature here, graveyard, because of the Dauntless Bodyguard. So I'm assuming he's gonna keep the Redain, maybe. Could keep Loxodon, but that's not worth it. Oh my gosh, he misclicked. I mean, even if he kept Redain, I would have been fine because I could just Teferi minus it. Worst case scenario. I have enough lands, I could cast Teferi. But yeah, he misclicked. That sucks. Tamio. Yeah, so Legion's Landing, Adanto. See, if I would have Rat the God in I would have lost this game probably, because look at what happened afterwards. Escanta. So let's see. 4. I could do 3. I think I want this, because it also lets me grab Rat the God back from the graveyard too. Down the road, but I'm gonna play Teferi here first, because next turn I can play land and play Wrath of God in the same turn. Since I'm gonna be able to cast Tamio next turn, I can use it minus effect to grab Wrath of God. And he can't kill Teferi here with 3 tokens. Whereas if I would have used Tamio minus to grab Wrath of God, he could kill it. And if I plus Tamio and then minus, Tamio still dies again. He just created the token just because. Oh, because it's flipping. That's why. Because it's transforming. I was like, wait, why would he do that? But it's because it's transforming. Makes sense. All right, so play Tamio. Make sure we have double white. Okay, we do. And then just return Wrath of God and Wrath of God. There we go. Game. Wow. Unbelievable.
Alright, we're playing some Bant churns today. Some Bant churns in Historic. Alex. Alright, let's rumble Alex. We're on the play. Nice. Not a nice hand, though. We're on the play. It was nice, but not a nice hand. Alright, this is playable, I guess. I don't want to mulligan too much because they're playing a Loris deck. So the likelihoods are they do have Thoughtseize in their deck, and this is playable. It's not great, but I got lands and spells, so we'll keep. It's not too shabby. And of course, you start off with the tap lands that can't. Yep, there's Thoughtseize. You start off with the tap lands that can't come and play untapped. The breeding pool, we can pay 2 life if we want it to come untapped, whereas the irrigated farmland and scattered groves come in tapped regardless. Yeah, they have cycling, so you could draw, but at the moment I need the land, so I will not be cycling this anytime soon. So you might as well play those lands out first instead of the breeding pool. Well, I think I play Hinterland Harbor here and hold up the cycle, because I have nothing else I can do this turn anyways, so might as well just hold up the cycle here to draw a card, especially since my hand is 2 lands. You know, I want to start digging for all the planeswalkers we run. It's like something like 12 planeswalkers or something like that. And since we're at 3 mana, we could almost play every single planeswalker at the moment except for Teferi. Gruxa. Alright, so they're Rakdos. They're the Arcanist deck. So he has Village Rights since he's holding priority. Village Rights it is. Since he had priority on the summon, it was, yeah, made sense that it was Village Rights. I'm debating on here. The reason why I have the pause is, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just a Haze of Pollen. Now it's like, do I cycle it now or do I cycle it after? But I chose to cycle it first to see what I draw, to see if, I mean, it changes what I'm going to discard anyways, but it didn't, because I drew another land anyway, so it didn't change anything. Of course, I'm taking Teferi here. Of course. Best card out of that pile was definitely Teferi. Stitcher Supplier, alright. Well, I'm glad there's one less Thoughtseize in the deck. Alright, well, this is interesting. So, he destroys Narset knowing that I have Teferi in my hand. That can only mean one thing, that he has another Village Rights in his hand. Since Narset prevents him from drawing, that is the only logic that I can see why he would destroy Narset instead of destroy Teferi. Because if he waited one turn, obviously Narset will go down to 1. Then Stitcher Supplier can just straight up kill the Narset. You can attack the Narset and then use the Harvest to destroy Teferi. But since he destroyed Narset right off the bat, knowing I have Teferi in my hand, this clearly shows signs of Village Rites in his hand. Alright, discard land. So, depending on what we draw, I think we're just going to play... we're just going to use Teferi's plus effect and Wrath the God, I think. I could go for the minus and hold up Counterspell here. But I don't think, especially since I'm 100% sure that I have Village Rites. So I could put an end stop or end step stop here just to be safe. So that way I can foretell Solid coming. Alright, see, Village Rites. Yeah, that's the only reason to get rid of Narset. Okay, now we don't need the end step stop here. Foretell this. Teferi untaps 2 lands, which makes it so now Solid coming is legal. I mean, not that it's legal, that we can play on this, the turn. Not going to counter this. The only time I really want to counter this is if it has haste. Because at the moment, it's not doing anything. It's a 1/3 not doing anything. If he gave it haste, then we'd counter that. Because then he can use the Harvest to destroy Teferi. So it looks like he's trying to bring Cruxa back, I guess. He's deciding on what to remove to keep in his graveyard. Yep. We're definitely countering this. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So I think I used Teferi minus on the Arcanist. And then I used Tamiyo to return Narset. And then I'll have 3 planeswalkers in play. They'll have no cards on board. I get to get a card off of Tamiyo or Narset's ability if it hits. Theoretically, it should hit. Because we don't run any creatures. It's just pretty much lands and spells. And I think I'm taking Baby Teferi here. I could take Wrath the God. But I can use Baby Teferi to phase out the creature anyways, buying me a turn. So I think I just want the Baby Teferi just to start looting as well. So the logic here is obviously you take Wrath the God, so you can like either destroy Cruxa or Loris or whatever, right? But Baby Teferi can draw me a card, and then on their turn I can phase out the Cruxa so he can't attack. And so it does this exact same thing that I wanted to do, and I don't have to. Obviously, Wrath the God just gets rid of it right off the bat, but same concept. Alright, Loras. And I can't get, I'm not losing any cards from discard off Cruxa because I have Tamiyo in play. So I'm protected there. Ooh, wow. Okay, all 3 cards are good here. Legit, all 3 cards are good. But I think I take Teferi. That's tough. Because Tamiyo could bring back any card. Bala could bring back any card. So, like, it's just tough. But the reason why I did that... First, let's see what we hit. I was going to see on... I think I'll call out Outrun's Epiphany since it has the most copies in the deck. Well, that changes things then. So I was originally going to minus the Teferi on the Loras and then cast the other Teferi. But now that I hit the Epiphany, I think I'll just take the extra turn. Because then next turn I can do So I'm going to use Teferi's plus this turn. And then next turn, I can do minus Teferi on Loras. And then I can use the memory side so that they shuffle their whole hand and graveyard back in. They draw 1, I draw 7. And they have nothing on board. Yep, concession. Because that's what was going to happen. So I was going to tuck and then, yeah. Alright, so rest in peace. I think we need the Gravedigger's cages. Obviously, they run like a braid in the other card, but you still have to bring it in regardless. I don't know if debating on. I think I want the Baffling End because it could still remove Arcanus, but it's kind of a dead card outside of removing like Arcanus and I guess Cruxa, but I think it might be worth it. It's there, you know. Saw it coming, we don't need. Alrund's Epiphany is a little expensive against their deck, especially since they're making us discard a lot of cards. I'm going to cut the one Growth Spiral because it's just one anyways. Since I'm bringing Baffling Ends, I think I take out either Wrath of God or Doomscar. Doomscar is possible turn 3 play. Wrath of God's at, turn 4 play. So it comes down to like, well, do you want to do a turn 3 possibility or a turn 4? So, I mean, that's up to you how you want to choose. You want to do a turn 3 possible or a turn 4? So, let's see. Alright, 5 lands, 2 explorers. Seems fine. I'm going to keep, especially against a deck that, plays Thoughtseize and whatnot. I don't want to mulligan too much and get my hand picked apart. Yeah, otherwise then I'm just going to lose the game anyways by my hand just being ripped apart. So we played obviously Scattergrove first so that we could play Explore. We have 2 Explorers. But it's so we could play Explore. Young Pyromancer. Ooh, another Explorer. Well, it doesn't really help us since we only have 1 green anyways. But, and I'm going to keep Irrigated Farmland since I have already enough lands that I can use it to cycle. So, depending on what he does next turn, I can play Hinterland Harbor, play double Explore, go up to 6 mana, and if I draw an untapped land, then I can also Alrund's Epiphany, Foretell. Okay, so draw another land. But the question is, do I want to shock myself for 4 to do that? Because, especially with he's adding pressure. Okay, so now it would be shock myself for 2. So play Hinterland Harbor, play another Explorer. I'm drawing a lot of lands here, unfortunately. Pay 2 life. Drawing the Hinterland Harbor was really good because I didn't have to shock myself for 4. I only had to do it for 2. 2 is a lot better than 4, obviously. And, I don't want to take too much damage and then just lose to that. And since I'm also going to be taking 3 here as well, it's going to, yeah. And then I'm going to take another 2, 3, 4. So go down to 7. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing so many lands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I go to 7 lands. I could play Narset and see what I hit. Maybe I hit a Fog. Maybe I hit a Wrath of God. I could just take an extra turn and then get my mana higher. Another Explorer. And it creates me the blockers to protect Narset. Prevents him from drawing cards. Well, that's an easy pick. Teferi. And I have the blockers to protect Teferi. No attacks. Okay. So things are changing. As long as we don't draw a bunch of lands in a row, I think we're doing okay. We could buy a Search for Escanta. We need to hit a Wrath God or a Fog. Just to be safe, we need to have one of those. So he has the harvest card. Yep. I would have got rid of the token, but I guess he wants to mill anyways for Cruxa. But if he would have got rid of the token, he could have. I guess he has another harvest. Okay. Well, never mind. I was gonna say then he could have attacked Narset, but he had 2 harvests, so it didn't matter. It did not matter. Oh man, if we would have if our planeswalkers were survived, we drew into a Wrath to God. Darn. Well, just gonna pass because in case Cruxa comes out, I have a discard outlet. But dang, that would have been such a great hand. Let's just make a token here as a blocker. We could block all 3 of his dudes. And then if he next turn, obviously he's gonna probably make some tokens next turn, but we have a token to block, with. Hopefully he doesn't have village rights. That could be pretty bad for us. He'll start drawing more cards. We're at 7. We have to be careful. Dreadhorde. Well, now we're just going to go ahead and wipe the board because we can't let him have 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't let him have any more auto tapper got me. Otherwise I would have been able to make a token here. Auto tapper. Cruxa. I destroyed the board and then now he gets to play Cruxa. We might lose the Cruxa then. Currently we have nothing to kill it. We're gonna take 3, go down to 4. I mean we can make a token, alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. He has so many cards in his graveyard. I'm like, if I use, I think I have to minus and grab Fairy here, and then minus the Cruxa. Because I mean, I have to, because otherwise, I just lose the game. Because he just attacks for 6. But I mean, I have now 2 planeswalkers in play. So hopefully that's good enough. We'll find out. I mean, he gets to bring another Cruxa out. We go down to 1. Because Cruxa still does damage to us. So we go to 1. Oh, Tamio might end up backfiring against me, actually. Because I can't discard a card, so I might lose the game because of that. Actually, if he realizes it, I do lose the game because of that. Alright, we're going to call Alrun's... Actually, maybe I want commit. I don't have Saw coming because I took those out. But alright, Alrun's Epiphany is more likely to hit. We have more copies of that. Yeah, this, if he doesn't bring out Cruxa this turn, I'm going to minus the Tamio so I can get her off the board. Because I lose, if he sees the writing on the wall, we lose the game. The Cruxa kills us. Because we can't discard a card because of Tamio's passive ability. And since we can't discard a card, we can't discard Wrath the God, and so we're going to take 3 damage. Okay, he saw it. Alright, that's game. Yep, see? If Tamio wasn't there, we would have discarded Wrath the God and we would have been fine. But since we can't discard, we take 3 damage. That's unfortunate. The card that we lost to was our own Planeswalker. But I mean... Tamio got me to Fairy, got me to clear his board, got me to do stuff. Like, you gotta play it out like that anyways, regardless. So, but it's unfortunate, but it happens. Alright, so am I changing anything here? I didn't see anything that, that make a difference. Obviously, he's gonna keep in the braids. He's gonna keep in because of what is it? The Grafdigger's cages. Yeah, see, Wrath of Gods, Tamios. I could bring in Yasharn to prevent him from sacking, like with Village Rites and Harvest. But I'm wondering if that's, because it does help. I mean, it makes what I'm assuming they run 4/4, so it makes 8 other cards useless if I have Yasharn in play. All right, we're keeping this. We have a turn 2, turn 3 play with lands. Irrigated farmland first. As long as we don't get Thoughtseize, we should be fine. Okay, Stitcher Supplier. Stitcher Supplier. And now we have a turn 4 Wrath of God. Next turn we can play Narset, depending on if he throws anything. If he throws like an Arcanus out on the board, then we're gonna have to Wrath of God instead. That's fine. That I don't care for. And then take 1, drop Narset. Castle Arendelle is pretty decent draw here. Creates us the tokens that we need. So let's see. We will play Narset and see what we could hit. Ooh. Man, that's tough. So it's between Grafdigger's Cage and Teferi. I can cast Teferi next turn. So that's like the huge thing. But obviously Grafdigger's Cage is just huge against his deck because it just stops him from doing anything. And yeah, Outrun's Epiphany is not even on my radar just because the other two are so strong here. But overall, I think I just have to take Teferi. Just because Teferi is a strong card, and he could just have a braid in his hand anyways, so I'd rather just take Teferi. No, he had duress anyways. Darn, man. I had Teferi in my hand. Well. You do that to me, huh? Oh. He duressed my Teferi, and I drew a Teferi. Thank you, Teferi. Or I should say, thank you, deck. Alright. I maybe should have kept the Narset in play. Because he might have, yep, there it is. He has Village Rites. Because of Village Rites, probably should have kept it in play. Would have been smart to keep it in play. But I mean, let's get to dig something. The commit here so that I can counter any card, I guess, would be really good. The search versus contact, I can see search also possibly being a choice because he's, discarding tons of cards out of our hand anyways, so that it pretty much will become active. So there are two choices there. Either one is good. I mean, if you took the Search, you could have played Search and Wrath of God in the same turn next turn. But I can also play, I guess, Wrath of God and Commit in the same turn as long as Teferi survives. Because we go to 6 mana, use 4 of it, and then we untap 2 of it. So technically we have access to 8 mana. So either way, either one works. Karaxa! So just going to discard a land. And since he knows about Hinterland Harbor, I'm just going to discard so he has less information about cards in my hand. I drew another Sun Petal Growth. Alright, I'm just going to Wrath here and hold up Commit. And just keep upticking Teferi. I mean, we discarded a card, we drew a card. So, upticking, we drew another Wrath God, I guess. So now we have Commit to stop his next play. He has 2, 4, he has 6 cards, And he can only bring out Crux. Well, he's gonna discard my commit anyways. I'd rather have him have less information. I don't want him to have more information. He currently doesn't know what's in my hand, so I'd rather keep it that way. And it doesn't throw a card in the graveyard, so that also helps. Yasharn. Interesting. I could play commit and reset the board and then use the fairy to draw a card. But I don't think is that worth it? I could also just cast Yasharn here. I think it's just better to cast Yasharn. I don't know why. I don't see why I want to reset the board. Now this also prevents him from using like Harvest or something to kill my Planeswalker. And I think that's the... Oh, they also run a Bedevil. I was going to say, ooh, there we go. Boom. Boom shakalaka. It's a tap 2. Grafdigger's Cage prevents him from using Loris and Cruxa. But I'm sure he has like an Abrade or something in his hand. I don't see... You know what I mean? I mean, I don't get to play Memory anymore, but he's going to eventually Abrade this anyways. But force him to use up his mana so he can't use Loris to return something out. And then we can Wrath the God the following turn. Because if we didn't play Grafdigger's Cage, he can play Loris and then use Loris' effect to bring out, say, Cruxa or Young Pyromancer. But now, since we have Grafdigger's Cage in play, he has to Abrade the cage first, allowing him to not be able to bring anything out. So, there's that. Alright. Wrath the God. Let's draw first and see what we hit. Now I have multiple Wrath the Gods. Alright. Boom. Yep. I guess he couldn't get rid of Teferi. Hey YouTube, welcome back. Also welcome back to myself. I've been away from recording for the last like 2 weeks now, and the reason for that is because my graphics card messed up. It wasn't able to read my monitors anymore, so I have to send that in and get it fixed. So in the meantime, as you notice, I don't have a picture of me while I'm recording this video. That's because I'm playing on my laptop, and my laptop can't handle all of that stuff happening. So in the meantime, we have it going like this. So bear with me for another week or two until I get everything set up. But I felt like, I know people have been asking me, when's your next video coming out? When's your next video coming out? So I was like, okay, no more. I'll just go ahead and do it without the face. So here it is. And to all those people who subscribed so far, thank you for subscribing. I have almost reached partnership. I'm a little bit away. And if you're new watching this video, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification to follow, all that. It would I'll greatly appreciate it, and it'll get me to where I need to get as far as partnership on YouTube. So here we go. We're playing some historic deck today. And today's deck is, Bant Churns, Bant Fog, Bant SuperFriends, Churns because out 4 elements Epiphanies, Teferi Master of Time, it gets Churns. Bant Fog because we're playing Haze of Pollen, to Root Snare in the sideboard. SuperFriends because we have 4, 8, 10 different 10 planeswalkers, So, there's multiple names you want to call it. I just called it Bant Churns just because we're playing some of the new powerful cards like Outrun's Epiphany and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to give you a sideboard guide as far as the popular 4 decks in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So these are these are the decks that are being played the most at the moment in Historic. Obviously week by week it changes, but at the current meta, these are the 4 most played decks. And so far I think we're 8-2 with the deck. So it's not bad. I don't know how far it will take me, but I definitely think I can make Diamond with this deck, if not maybe into Mythic, but we'll see. I just started playing again, so we'll see what happens. So the first deck I'm going to give you a sideboard guide to is Gruul Aggro. Of course you're going to see Gruul Aggro, no doubt about it. So this is what I do. I sideboard against Gruul Aggro. I bring in 2 Baffling Ends, 2 Root Snares, and 2 Doomskars. Baffling End and Doomskars are removal, early cheap removal. Baffling End and Doomskar is a board wipe. Root Snare fogs their attacks. Obviously, Root Snare is not great against what's it called? It's not great against the oops, hold on. Okay. It's not great against the Bone Crusher Stomp, whatever, but beyond that, I think you should be fine. Other than that, you should be in great shape. So, but this is what I bring in. So I bring in the 2 Baffling and 1 Root Snare and Doomscar. And what I take out is 1 Escanta, because it's kind of slow. On turn 2, you cast it, then you get hit for like 4-6 damage. 1 Growth Spiral. We already have 4 Explorers. We don't need another one here. 2 Solid Cummings. Once again, this is slow. It's a 3-mana counter spell. You're going to counter a 2-drop with 3 mana. You know, even if you foretold and you use 2 mana to counter 2 mana, it's not worth it here. And we do take out 1 Alrund's Epiphany, because the earliest we can play this is like a 6 mana a play. So that's what we do against Cruel Aggro. We add in 2 Baffling Ends, 1 Root Snare, 2 Doomscars. We take out 1 Escanta, 1 Growth Spiral, 2 Solid Cumming, and 1 Alrund's Epiphany. So that's against the Cruel Aggro decks. Now, another deck you're definitely going to be playing against would be against like Jund Sacrifice. So against Jund Sacrifice, what I like to bring in here is 2 Grafdigger's Cages, 2 Baffling Ends, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Yasharns. Obviously, the cage prevents them from, you know, the bringing back the cat over and over. It's not, if they're playing Jund, they're probably playing Collected Company. Prevents them from Collected Company. Does stuff like that. Baffling End gets rid of their cat, gets rid of their the 3/3 whenever it's sack, it does a damage. It gets rid of the priest. It gets rid of all their cards except for like the big 5/6 drop card. Rest in Peace exiles their graveyard. It stops a lot of their effects. It stops, what is it, the night. It stops Oven. It stops all the damage effects. So that's a great card. And then Yasharn, obviously, since they're playing Cat and Oven, Yasharn prevents them from sacrificing stuff. So this prevents them from their deck from really doing anything. What I take out is I take out 2 Escantas. Since I'm bringing in Rest in Peace, I don't want Escanta in there because it's most likely never going to flip. And so now it's just a 2 mana like cantrip in a sense. I take out 1 Growth Spiral just because I need to curve down a little bit. I still have the 4 Explorers just because Growth Spiral is blue and green, whereas Explorer is green and X, so it's easier to cast. 2 Solid Cummings I cut because it's just not going to do me any good. I mean, if they cast a cat, am I going to counter a cat, you know, with Solid Cumming or something like that? Or even say, what is it? I guess the priest you would counter most likely, depending. But then again, not really, because you don't run any creatures. So that's what I'm saying. It seems kind of like a dead card in that matchup. I cut 1 Alrund's Epiphany because the earliest this card becomes is a 6 mana play, and I don't want to be doing a 6 mana play when I'm only like on turn, 3 mana, 4 mana. I cut 1 Teferi's Time Master, and I cut Teferi's Time Master here because he's the weakest of the 4 planeswalkers. I mean, obviously he's in there because of his emblem where you take 2 extra turns afterwards, but of the 4 planeswalkers, he is the weakest, so I cut 1 of those. And I cut 1 Doomscars and I leave the 4 Wrath of Gods in just because I don't need the 5th board wipe against them. They don't really set up too much to the board. They'll usually put 2 creatures out there, maybe, you know what I mean? And the extra Baffling End, the Rest in Peace, and Cage kind of prevents one of their creatures really from coming out. So I bring in, and then I bring in, or I take out the Doomscar for that reason. So once again, I bring in 2 Cages, 2 Baffling Ends, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Yasharns, and I take out 2 Escanta, 1 Spiral, 2 Solid Cummings, 1 Epiphany, 1 Teferi Time Master, and 1 Doomscar. That's against Jund Sacrifice. Now the third deck you'll most likely see, I don't know if it's been on the incline or not, but in the past, like when I was playing again prior, a month, 2 months ago, Azorius Control was here and there, but it was very fringe. But now it seems to be like the number 3 play deck, which kind of surprised me. But I guess Earl got banned, and I haven't played since Earl got banned. So I guess maybe Control got better for that reason. So we don't really have that much against Control because I wasn't expecting Control to be such a, I guess, part of the meta. But, we have some cards against Control, so there's that. So what I bring in against controls, I bring in 2 negates, 2 vetoes. You just need counter spells against control. So those are the 4 counter spells we have in the sideboard. And I bring in 1 Yasharn just because we have, dead cards in the main deck that I brought it in as a threat. And so like I take out 4 at the gods and 1 Doomscar, and I bring in the Yasharn because I'm taking out 5 cards, or I'm bringing, taking out 5 cards, so I need to bring 5 cards in. I could also take out 1 Hazel Pollen for another Yasharn to get another threat, but I'd rather keep the Hazel Pollen in because at worst case scenario, it can cycle. Whereas Wrath of God and Doomscar are pretty much useless outside of maybe killing a shark, when they cycle a Shark Typhoon, killing that. But besides that, those 5 cards are dead. So might as well just bring in counter spells to stop, like, Teferis or whatnot. And then Yasharn's just like a threat. So if they drop this on turn 4, they drop Teferi on turn 5, I can pressure Teferi unless they minus on Yasharn. So that's my control matchup sideboard if you playing against Azorius control. Now the 4th deck I'm going to give a sideboard guide to is the Rakdos Arcanist deck. And yeah, this deck was popular obviously back when I was playing, and it looks like it's still popular, so I don't see why not. It's a good deck. It's a very consistent deck. It does what it does, consistently, so I don't see this deck leaving anytime soon. And I guess with the ban of Earl, it's definitely still going to stick around. So against the Rakdos Arcanist deck, what I like to bring in is 2 Grafdigger's Cage. Obviously, it stops their Luras, it stops their Arcanist from playing all their spells back from the graveyard. It stops Cruxa, so this is mandatory to bring in. The 2 Baffling Ends I bring in is just obviously I need to exile Arcanist. Need exile Arcanist, because then they play Thoughtseize and then they play Thoughtseize for free. They play Village Rites and then play Village Rites for free. So you need to exile the Arcanist when you can. If you can't exile him, that's where the Cage and like Rest in Peace come into play. So you can exile the graveyard so he becomes useless. But Arcanist is a big card. Dreadhorde Arcanist is a big card in their deck, and you got to get rid of it. So the 2 Baffling Ends are there for that reason. 2 Rest in Peace because they're a graveyard deck. So exiling their graveyard is huge. And on top of that, Rest in Peace is good here because so they're gonna have a Braid and I forgot the 3 mana cost card to destroy the artifact. So they're gonna be able to kill Cage pretty easily. Whereas Rest in Peace, they can't really kill it. So if I had a choice here, I'd rather have 4 Rest in Peace and no Cages so that their Braids would become useless. But Cage is good against other cards, like other decks, like the Goblin deck, you know what I mean? So you can't really do 4 Rest in Peace and no Cages. So I did a 2-2 split in that case. So that way if I play against Goblins, I have Cage. If I play against Rakdos Arcanist, I have Cage and Rest in Peace. Like I said, obviously Rest in Peace is better in this matchup than Cages, but it's fine. So you bring in Rest in Peace because they're a graveyard deck. You want to just stop them from graveyard recursion and all that. And then the Yasharns are here for the sacrifice cards they have. So they play Village Rites and they play the Harvest. Both those cards require them to sacrifice in order to play them. And since Yasharn prevents them from sacrificing, it stops 8 cards in their deck. So on top of that, Yasharn grabs you lands. So worst case scenario, it grabs you lands. And it's a 4/4, so it's a big blocker. They have to actually remove it with something, either attack and then play a Braid and kill it. But Yasharn's good against their deck as well. So what I take out is I cut 2 Escantas since I'm bringing in 2 Rest in Pieces. I cut 1 Growth Spiral just because I'm already playing 4 Explorers here. And I cut 2 Solids Coming because they're playing a bunch of, 2 mana cost, 1 mana cost cards. Paying 3 mana to counter 2 mana cards, 1 mana, 2 mana cards, not smart, not great, not mana efficient, not a good game plan. And I take out 1 Outrun's Epiphany because earliest we can play this is 6 mana, and we might not get to 6 mana. We should get to 6 mana just because of how much board wipes we have. But I don't want to have too many high curve cards against them. Like, see what we're bringing in is a 2 mana Rest in Peace, 2 mana Baffling End, and 2 mana or 1 mana Cage. We're curving our deck down so that way we can interact with them early into the game. Obviously, we still have 3 Outruns Epiphanies in the deck anyway, so we should still hit it. I cut 1 Wrath of God because they don't really throw out too much onto the board outside of, say, what is it, the Young Pyromancer creating a bunch of tokens. They don't really throw out too much to the board. So I cut out 1 Wrath of God. We still have 3 Rats and a Doomscar. And I left Doomscar in because you can foretell this and you can have this as a 3 mana play. And so 3 Wrath of Gods should be fine. And I cut out 1 Haze of Pollen because they're not really attacking us per se with too many creatures. They're just kind of outvaluing us in a sense with Thoughtseize, with Village Rites, with Arcanist, using their graveyard over and over, Cruxa. So they just kind of outvalue us. So I took out 1 Haze of Pollen here as well. So that's what I do against the Rakdos Arcanist deck. Like I said, this is a pretty strong deck so far in Platinum. I'm pretty sure I can take this into Diamond easily. And as I keep playing now that I'm back playing Arena again, I have no problem bringing this into Diamond easily, hands down. So currently we're 8-2 with the deck, so that's a pretty good record. And you know, even without Uro, this deck is still strong. So if you have the cards and you want to try something fun, this deck is really fun. As you'll see in one of my matches, I kept a 7-land hand and still won against a insane board, insane comeback. Check that match out. It's in the video. I kept a 7-land hand and it was very fun. Like, I can't believe we won, but this is a very, very fun deck. And of course, I love Teferi. Such a powerful card. So, but yeah, if you thank you for watching, and like I said, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, notification. It will I would greatly appreciate it, and it'll help me out so much if you did so. And don't forget to drop any comments down in the comment, or drop any comments down in the comment box, but drop comments if you like. Tell me if you try the deck, if there's any cards you think I should change. I love feedback on my decks. I love people who play them and, you know, either like them or dislike them. Hey, it could not be the deck for you. That's fine. I understand. I'm not an aggro player, so you won't see me playing aggro. I get it. Not every deck is made for everyone, but if you enjoy the deck, if you like it or you don't like it, drop some comments. Let me know if you have any changes, and always check the description of the video because it will have the link to the deck, or it'll have a text file so you could copy paste it easily to Arena, and I'll have other stuff in there. So check out the description of the video, and thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next time.